Well, maybe destroyed is a little strong, but these people certainly didn't help. It always takes more than one wrestler or individual to ruin a promotion, but on occasion, people do debut and cause such a fuss all over the place. Well, it's definitely not good, and after a while we all get upset. Why are you doing this, and what's wrong with you? There's also been some repeat offenders on a headline one too, so I thought we may as well go through history and see how said individuals hold up today. Maybe we do need to be nicer. Let's find out. Number 8, Vince Russo and WCW. Now I know, Mr. Russo, you don't know who I am. That's fine, I don't expect you to know, but I would guess more words have been written about his influence on wrestling since the Attitude Era, and not all of it is good. Of course, in the late 90s, he was super helpful to the WWF, and a lot of stars then will sing his praises. Those who were part of that creative process will also mention how Russo needed to be reined in, however, which is why Vince McMahon was so good for him. He calmed down the truly mad ideas. It was McMahon who found him as well in early 1997 after being sick and tired of how Raw was being presented. He then threw a copy of WWF magazine in front of Jim Ross, Jim Cornette and the rest, and asked, why aren't we doing stories like the one being pitched here by a Vic Venom, also known as Vince Russo's alter ego? Vince was soon brought in, and yeah, he embraced attitude, and the company blew up. It's why he got offered the keys to the castle when WCW was in desperate need of a kick up the ass, although here he was given carte blanche. Do what you want, just save the day. That's not what happened, and instead the very We Want Wrestling Southern crowd were presented with Viagra on a pole matches, Judy Bagwell on a forklift fight, and wrestlers outwardly saying that all of this is fake, so they're not gonna go along with the script. Still makes me mad. When it was borderline offensive, just let me enjoy my wrestling. It actually made WCW worse and drove more of the audience away before the powers that be stepped in and told him to stop. Even they knew. And sure, there were ratings bumps here and there, but go and watch from 2000 onwards. That wasn't happening, and you cannot tell me it's good. I mean, it is hilarious because you get nonsense like no disqualification matches that end in a DQ, but a good wrestling product it was not. So Vince Russo was not of any assistance, and in hindsight, I think he brought WCW down even further. I mean, that is one big whoops. Number 7, Ed Ferrara. And that means we can't let Ed Ferrara get away with this either, because it was not just Vince Russo. Ed, who was also on the WWF creative team, went with Russo because they were a combo on Raw, so let's do the same thing on WCW Nitro. Sadly, some of the things Ferrara did were so mad and offensive that yes, he too absolutely helped drag down the promotion. For one, he portrayed Oklahoma, and yeah, that was a full-on insult to Jim Ross, as Ed did a southern accent and acted like he had Bell's palsy. Now, aside from it being an awful idea and just horrible to JR, who was this for? Who was going to tune into WCW because we were doing this? The answer was no one, and surprise, surprise, he got a lot of people to switch off instead. He also won the Cruiserweight title, and no, he was not a Cruiserweight, and feuded with Medusa over this, which made even less sense, and he doubled down on the idea that Tank Abbott should be WCW champion. Yeah, he said this would be a good idea. That's nothing against Tank, but everyone and their dog knew that wasn't going to help. Ferrara also joined TNA for a while and didn't help there either, so it really doesn't feel like he should get a free pass, especially because a lot of his work was taking shots at other people that weren't even in the same company. So just being children, to be honest with you. I mean, the odd jab here and there is fine, but this was his entire MO. Dare I say it, none of it, and I mean none of it, was any good. Number 6, Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff in TNA. So screw what I say, what the flub do I know? But Jeff Jarrett was talking about this on his podcast recently, and he said it too. Hulk Hogan was no good for TNA and did anything he could to manipulate Dixie Carter to the detriment of the promotion. But there you go. I also lived through this, and yeah, it was just really sad. TNA had to be the alternative wrestling company in order to find their niche, and instead when Hogan and Bischoff arrived, they decided to make it WWE Light. And it's always going to be a mistake. We've got WWE, we don't need more of it, and we definitely don't need a watered-down version. Some were so confused by their choices, they felt like Bischoff and Hogan had been sent by WWE to end TNA because they just seemed to hate anything the promotion had already established. In-house projects like The Pope, Desna Wolf, and Beer Money were marginalized, and then they just went out to hire all of their friends. That was fine to a point, but not at the expense of the OGs who had helped make TNA something. For example, Val Venus, Bubba the Love Sponge, and the Nasty Boys were not the answer. Dixie Carter didn't help either, as she blamed the existing talent for the issues before bringing in these two, and of course Hulk took center stage. That was always the play here. That and making the decision that they should go head-to-head with Raw on Monday nights. Excuse me, friends, it's not 1995. Soon enough, we rehashed the NWO storyline, which summed it up, and the atmosphere in this place did not seem very good for a long time. If it wasn't for TNA's amazing staying power, who knows what would have happened? I mean, this really was bizarre, especially some of the storylines. Hulk Hogan gave Abyss his WWE Hall of Fame ring and said it had magical powers like he was the Green Lantern. You'll be laughing now. That is something that actually happened. I will never understand it. Number 5, Hulk Hogan. So this one is fairly more interesting because it's not cut and dry. You can actually research this. If you're a nerd, you'll love it. When Hulk Hogan debuted for WCW in 1994 after signing with them, it was a success. Every metric told you that. And the promotion's pay-per-view business went from nothing to actually something. This was all thanks to the Hulkster who headlined Bash of the Beach that year with Ric Flair and caught the interest of fans everywhere. Also proved Vince McMahon wrong in the process. He didn't think anybody cared about that match. Well, they did. The issue was, as the months passed and Hogan stuck to his red and yellow act, the more traditional WCW fan made their voices heard. They were never going to get behind Hulk due to where he came from, and they also didn't like sports entertainment. As soon as the novelty did wear off, it was quite clear Hulkamania was dead. Whatever he had once was no more. All audiences had moved on. It still opened the door for Nitro to launch and merchandise sales to actually be a thing within WCW, but once again, all his friends were soon flown in, as fans learned that Hogan was wielding serious power here. As we know, a wrestling crowd never likes that, and the balloon came off the rose when Starrcade was headlined by Hogan versus a version of Brutus Beefcake. That was never gonna fly. By mid-1996, Hogan had legged it to make television shows because he wasn't stupid, before of course WCW turned him heel. That's a huge reason why they chose Hulk too. They weren't silly. They knew if the Hogan investment was gonna pay off, they needed to do something huge. Thankfully, Hogan agreed because of course he did have that creative control, and man, had he said no to this, it would have been awful. Go back and watch the shows at the time, you could actually feel the apathy. It's why he has to get a reprieve by the end, because he did do the right thing, but it was also sort of forced. If WCW hadn't have done that, they would have been in real trouble, given how much sway Hogan had. Thankfully, we did get Bash of the Beach 1996, but never forget, that is not why Hulk Hogan got signed, not at all. We just had to go and figure it out. Number 4, CM Punk. I get why this one is included, but I feel like any time we speak of CM Punk in AEW, we need a whole video dedicated to it. It's far more nuanced than just Punk bad, because that's not accurate. In fact, when CM Punk joined AEW, business flew through the roof. If he had left just because he wanted to leave, we'd all be singing how beneficial this was. Sadly, that did not happen. Brawl Out, as it shall forever be known though, did bring this dream partnership crashing down, as Punk turned up to the post-event press conference and just went off. He went after Colt Cabana, the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega and others, and when the latter three went to chat to see him after the fact, well, you know the rest, a huge fight broke out and they all got suspended. It wasn't good on any level, even though it was lapped up by fans, but really nobody needs this sort of drama. It was a real shame. Eventually it felt ironed out, but then the incident with Punk and Jack Perry happened, and yeah, that would lead to CM being fired by AEW, and this is where the issue is. You can argue right and wrong until the cows come home, but the truth is, we don't know because we weren't there. As I've always said, I just hope everybody feels fine with it now. Their mental health must have been in the toilet. Either way, a cloud did hang over AEW's head, whether that was fair or not. It felt impossible to get rid of it, and it did tie into other metrics, and really you could argue it wasn't until All In 2025 when finally it was gone. That was such a huge and cool event, no one was worrying about the madness anymore. We moved on, thank goodness we did. So sure, the exit did absolutely have a negative effect on AEW, and it was one they did have to overcome. The good news is they did do that and are now flying, and Punk in WWE is also doing just fine. The Young Bucks also continue to prove they're one of the best tag teams ever, and Kenny Omega remains a one-of-a-kind talent. That's another one though. I just want that dude to be healthy. He has been through it. So once again, I do understand the reasoning, but it's just so damn deep. I mean, it dominated the news cycle for ages. It was such a massive story. So I think we should just draw a line under it and move on. We really don't need it back in our lives. Number 3, Hulk Hogan. We're back. I'm not trying to be mean either. All the following is just true. And yes, it's back to WrestleMania 9. Once again, Hulk Hogan had taken some time away from the WWE because Hulkamania WrestleMania was cooling off. This was nobody's fault because it's like anything in life. You get ups and then you get downs. I know about this. You do have to move on, which is why it's so important for a wrestling company to build new stars. Then when you need them, they're good to go. I think Vince McMahon realized that at first too, because he moved Bret Hart and Yokozuna into bigger positions. They headlined that WrestleMania, and yeah, Zooms won. He was the WWF champion. Fine, great. Awesome, we have a feud. When Hogan zoomed to the ring, demanded a world title match, and won that winged eagle in seconds. It was horrendous, and nowadays is often looked at as one of the worst decisions ever. Don't forget either, Vince had asked Hogan back to fit into the mid-card, hence his tag match with Brutus Beefcake that was booked for the pay-per-view. The idea of Hulk just bolstering a card was really smart because he was still Hulk Hogan. What an amazing way to add some depth. Of course, Hogan didn't want that, so told McMahon what was going to go down, and have a guess if it worked or not. That's right, it didn't. Instead, business dropped hard after Mania 9, and even though this Hulk run was meant to last a while, by King of the Ring, the title was back on Yoko as Hogan took another leave of absence. Yeah, that's how bad it was. Then he went to WCW. We've talked about it. This was also the time when Hogan took a booking in Japan and called the WWF title a trinket compared to the IWGP Championship. So you can imagine how that went down. It was not good, and all of this was a disaster, and it ruined WrestleMania in the process. Number 2, Vince McMahon. In 2019. That's right, I said it. It had to be said. Well, not really, but I'm doing it anyway. Because what a lot of people have forgotten is that the year of 2019 in WWE was terrible. In fact, here's a list of things that happened. That Hell in a Cell match between Seth Rollins and The Fiend, which was so bad Seth had to go heel, and fans booed at the end of the show. The dog food angle between Roman Reigns and Baron Corbin as we had a fake dog, made puppy jokes, and literally poured this pedigree chum over each other like it was a kid's cartoon. Russo and Ferrara then had a cuck angle, let's just leave that one there, and Bobby Lashley had fake sisters that Sami Zayn had to pretend he had gone and wrangled up to Raw, even though it was a bunch of dudes in drag. Now, to be fair, that was 2018, but still. A WrestleMania that went 8 hours long and destroyed the single-day concept forever. And then there was Lars Sullivan in general. Moving on. The Undertaker and Goldberg almost killed each other. Brock Lesnar destroyed Kofi Kingston in 8 seconds when SmackDown debuted on Fox, when Brock Lesnar won the Money in the Bank because lol. We also had the Tyson Fury vs. Braun Strowman match. Goldberg beat The Fiend in about 1 second or whatever it was. There was the wild card rule, which made no sense, and all that nonsense with Shane McMahon. Then Becky Lynch and Lacey Evans had a feud, and even Becky has come out and said nope, I didn't enjoy it. I can actually go on here, but I won't. The truth is WWE was in dire straits. It did allow AEW to flourish, and thank goodness there was a change a couple of years later because this level of booking would have stopped us getting the bloodline. I also imagine Cody's rise would have been butchered, and do you think Jey Uso would have won the Rumble? No way. It really should have been all the info anyone had to stick in their brains that new ideas were needed. It is just so bad, and as a man who is blessed to cover wrestling, I have to go back and watch this a lot, and trust me dudes, it does not get any better. Number 1, WWE signs with TNN. So this is a random one, hidden away in many ways, but it did happen, and it did help destroy everybody's favorite promotion at the time, ECW. Let's get into it. Because in 1999, after picking up steam off their own backs, Paul Heyman actually got a TV deal with TNN. This was massive. The little engine that could have done it, or at least bolstered themselves for a good while, and it really was a cool story. When ECW didn't have the level of budget of a WCW or WWF, they were fighting upstream. It didn't go great from day one because Heyman didn't feel like selling the virtues of ECW down the river just because they were on television, whereas TNN was like, yeah, okay, that's great, but maybe don't cut somebody open on every show. It's not that good for advertising. Even the first episode was a clip show, which TNN also didn't like, because that's not what they paid for, and the relationship got so bad, Paul eventually booked Don Callis as Cyrus, a heel who just ran down the network. You'll be shocked to hear that didn't go down well either. Within 6 months, it totally fell apart because Heyman figured out that maybe, just maybe, ECW was being used as a trialing ground for wrestling because TNN actually wanted to bid for Raw. It sounded proper conspiracy theory, but no, he was 100% right. And after 7 years on the USA Network, the WWF jumped across, leaving ECW in no man's land. Heyman even tried to get on USA, but they wanted WWF or nothing, and losing that much cash was such a blow to the promotion. Within 18 months, they'd be dead. So you can debate this one, I'm sure there's many extra factors too, but yeah, it was not great, and in hindsight, Well, I would imagine ECW would have preferred it went the other way. Know of any other signings that may have destroyed a wrestling promotion? Just let us know in the comments below before you like the video, share the video, and subscribe. You can also click the video on the screen for yet another professional wrestling video hosted by me, but otherwise, my friends, just make sure you walk around with a smile on your face today, and I will talk to you again very soon.